The title of my message today is titled Mission Impossible. There's nothing that is impossible. The word itself says, I am possible. So if you think today we're going to be talking about the impossibilities, you'll be wrong. We'll be talking about the possibilities. One of the things they didn't mention in my introduction actually, is that I'm from Uganda. Now, Uganda is a beautiful East African country located like in between Kenya and Congo, and then Tanzania in the south and Sudan in the north. The climate is absolutely stunning. It's a tropical paradise, and if you ask me, Uganda is the most beautiful country in the world. Now, if you think I'm biased, you're probably right. But hear me out. So the land is so fertile. Everything you throw on the ground grows. You would be like walking down the street, eating a mango, and throw the seed on the street. 2 years later, there's a mango tree. That's how Uganda is like. And so during the colonization era, the British, when they arrived in the country, they were astonished by the beauty of the country. Not just because it was a tropical paradise, but because it had something else really interesting. Now, if you look on the left, this is what we call the Rwenzori mountain ranges. It's on the western part of the country. It's the only place in Africa where you can find snow throughout the year. There's no winter, there's no what. It's just like really high mountains, and they're all covered by snow throughout the year. So when the British arrived, they could be enjoying on the beach in the morning, and within 5-hour drive, they're on the ski resort. So they couldn't believe this. So they were determined to make Uganda part of the British Empire, not just like colonize, but also make the local people of Uganda British. So in 1930s, I believe, when Prime Minister Winston Churchill was touring around the great British Empire, he came to Uganda and he was amazed. When he went back home, he wrote a book and he said, I have traveled all over the world, but I believe that Uganda is the pearl of Africa. And then during that time, a lot of British came, not just the colonialists, not just the administrators, but they actually brought in more people to settle in different parts of the country. And they had one purpose. Their mission was just one. Their purpose was to influence the people of Uganda to speak, to dress, to behave like British. One responsibility, influence the people of Uganda. Even the people who were born in the country, the children who were born from the British who lived in the country, they were told, yes, you're born here, but you are not of this land. You are here to influence the people of Uganda, to dress, to speak, and to act like British. That's why when I see this word, I pronounce it as water. It's a T, right? Water. But there's a group of people on this planet who also claim to speak English, but when they see this word, they don't see a T. They see a D. And they pronounce it water. The power of influence. All right. So, one mission, influence the people. Do we have a mission in our lives? Do we have a purpose? Science and education system has told us that we are nothing but animals that evolved over time. We are still operating in the flight or fight mode. Hollywood and social media has told us that we live only once, and our purpose is to amuse ourselves to death. Can Hollywood define us? Can social media tell us who we are? How can something that we ourselves created define who we are? Only the Creator can define who we are. I have a Hyundai vehicle. When it needs maintenance, I don't take it to Toyota or Ford or GMC, despite the fact that they're actually closer to my place. I take it to Hyundai. Do you know why? Because they made the vehicle. They can guarantee, like if you maintain this car in this way, we can guarantee the performance. And so this morning you're going to be visiting this book. This book was written by human, but they were not writing their words. They were writing on behalf of God. And that's why we're going to visit this book in order to determine who we are and what is our purpose. Much like British in Uganda, in the last days, there will be a group of people whose customs and values are not best in society where we live in, but will be best on a kingdom much bigger than this kingdom. That is the kingdom of heaven. And that will be the remnant church. That is you, reflecting the kingdom of heaven. We are here in this world, but we are not of this world. We are here to reflect the values and customs of the heavenly kingdom. Much like the British, we are here to influence this society. If I call you and I say, brother, can you issue a check of $2,000 to AY department? They have an event. I just told you what to do. The first question you could ask me, why? Why me? Right? But if I tell you that you are the church treasurer and you are in charge of maintaining the church budget, right? I just told you who you are. And then I tell you, brother, can you issue a check to the AY department because they have an event? Are you going to ask me why? You won't ask me why. Because you know who you are and you know your purpose, you know your responsibility. So this morning we're going to explore two questions. And those two questions are the who and the why. Before I tell you what's your purpose, what's your mission, I'll tell you who you are. All right, let's go into our scripture reading. Our key text today comes from 1 Peter chapter 2, verse 9. All right, it says, "You are a chosen generation, a royal priesthood, a holy nation, his own special people, that you may proclaim the praises of him who called you out of darkness into his marvelous light." Today we'll be breaking this verse down. We'll be unpacking some of the secrets that are in this verse. Now, as I mentioned, the first thing we're going to talk about is the who. Now, the first thing the verse mentions is you are a chosen generation. Now, the concept of choosing implies that you've been selected from a much bigger group based on a specific criteria. This is a pie chart that I put together. This is the population of the world versus the population of the Seventh-day Adventist. There is 7.8 billion souls on the planet. And can someone guess what's the population of the Seventh-day Adventist? Just take a guess. 18 million. 20 million. That's close. You guys are really close. It's exactly 21 million. And that's the ratio of the SCDA members to the Seventh-day Adventist population. Sometimes you may think that you're here by mistake. You're not sitting here by mistake. You've been specifically selected to be here sitting on this pew, listening to this message, because you have a responsibility to influence that population, to influence the 7.8 billion people who live in this world, who have no idea what is the identity, and it's your responsibility to show them how the people of the heavenly kingdom behave, act, and spread their values and customs. This is extracted from the Spirit of Prophecy, talking about the last days and the responsibility of the Seventh-day Adventist Church. It says, the Seventh-day Adventists have been chosen by God as a peculiar people, separate from the world. By a great cleaver of truth, he has cut them out from the quarry of the world and brought them into the connection with himself. He, that's God, has made them his representatives and has called them to be ambassadors for him in the last work of salvation. The greatest wealth of truth ever entrusted to mortals, the most solemn and fearful warning ever sent by God to man, have been committed to them to be given to the world. And that is why you've been chosen. All right. Chosen. We're still talking about the who. Number one, you are chosen. Number 2, you are a royal priesthood. Did you know these two offices are never combined? Usually in the kingdom, there is king and then there's a priest. But in this particular verse, they combine them together. You are a royal priesthood. In other words, you are a prince and a princess. And that means you have a royal duty. A lot of you are walking around selling yourself at a discount to people who don't deserve you, thinking that you are nobody. But the Bible just said you are a prince and a princess, which means you have a royal responsibility. What is your royal duty? The Bible says you are here to influence the people of this kingdom. Next time when you're walking through those tunnels of Carleton University, those halls of Algonquin College, La Cité Collégiale, or University of Ottawa, things get tough, and you're thinking to yourself, did I really come here to suffer shame? No. You're there because you've been deployed there. That is your mission field. Ladies and gentlemen, God did not give you your friends so that you can just talk about the latest shows on Netflix. He didn't give you your group of your friends that you hang out just to catch up with the Kardashians. He didn't put you in that university so you could just get an A+ and move on. He didn't give you your job so you can get promoted and pay your bills. He put you in a place where you are because that is your mission field. You've got to influence the people around you to let them know that you are in this world, but you are not of this world. A lot of people are waiting to be deployed to Jamaica, to Philippines, foreign countries to preach the gospel, not realizing that the place where they've been put right now, your schools, your institutions, your community centers where you work, is actually your mission field. Go and influence the people in that area. Let them know that the people of the heaven kingdom, these are our values. This is how we behave. And this is what we believe. I'll tell you a story. When I was at Carleton University, one of the things that I used to hate was when my exams were scheduled on Sabbath. And I really used to hate writing that email. But then one day I heard a little voice, speaking to me. And it said, Baptista, let me ask you a question. Which one is harder? Speaking light into darkness or speaking your degree into completion? And I was like, those things are not even related. Like, I don't get it. And then he said that, listen, you think I sent you to Carleton to complete your degree? And I was like, duh. I was like, no, I didn't send you to Carleton to complete your degree because your degree is nothing. I can easily speak. I mean, this is the God who spoke matter into existence. He didn't give you your job just to pay your bills. He put you in that specific area because those people around you, they're empty. They're searching. They need to know something solid to hold on. And you have been trusted with the greatest message in the last days. That is your mission field. Sometimes I just imagine this, when I imagine this, sometimes I imagine when I'm in heaven, I'm just standing there, asking myself, man, I made it. How on earth did I make it? Well, I'll be in heaven. I'll probably say, how on heaven did I make it? But, just wondering, you're like, man, I can't believe I made it. While you're thinking, just thinking to yourself, somebody taps on your shoulder and it goes like, brother, sister, listen, you may not know me, but listen, I used to teach your Psych 101 class. I was in my 40s. And one day, I scheduled your exam on Sabbath. I had never heard of Sabbath. You sent me an email and told me, hey, I would like an extension because I can't write my exam on Sabbath. I thought that was weird, but I gave you extension anyway. Fast forward a few years later, I was watching TV and I saw people being persecuted, Christian being persecuted. Something about Sabbath and Christian. I remember the email you sent to me. I grabbed the book and I read, and that is why I'm here today with my family and my children. And you're probably going to start weeping. I don't know if they cry in heaven, but and the guy was like, wait a minute. The next day, I went to my faculty and I told them, listen, I can't hold my exams on Saturday anymore. And they said, why? I grabbed my Bible and I explained to them. And they went home and they studied the Bible. And here they are with their families and their friends from just that one email. Sometimes we may feel like we're not making an impact, but there's a time for everything. There's a time to plow, there's a time to plant, and there's a time to harvest. This is time to plant. That email that you're sending, asking for extension, asking for an alternative day to write your exam, is planting seeds. Plant your seeds. All right. So the next point that the verse mentions, it talks that you are a holy nation. In other words, you are a sanctified nation. I want you to see it clear. A holy nation. It's singular, not plural. This mission is not individual. In other words, it's a one body with one mission. One body, one mission. I want to highlight this one because I'm referring to potential division in the church. There can't be a division. It's not nations. It's a nation. And it's very vital for our purpose as the remnant church. We need to understand this one. The devil likes division in the church because he can't win against a united church. He has used it before many, many times. I'll walk you through the history of the God's people. We see the nation of Israel in Egypt while they were still in slavery, right? It's one nation under one master, right? God says, let my people go. They leave the land of Egypt in the wilderness. It's one nation under one leader, right? They crossed the Red Sea. They spent 40 years in the wilderness. They had problems. They had so many problems. They fought amongst each other. But they remained one nation under one leader. Fast forward when they're alive in the promised land, under their first judges, it's one nation under one judge. Fast forward when they receive their first kings, it's one nation under one king. Under the leadership of King Solomon, the country is prospering. They are doing exactly what God commissioned them to do, to influence the people of this world with the values of the heavenly kingdom. They are doing exactly what they're supposed to do. The people are traveling from all over the world. Queen of Sheba travels from Africa, a journey for months to Jerusalem to ask, what kind of God do you guys worship? People are coming from Babylon. They're coming to Jerusalem asking, what kind of God do you guys worship? The devil is threatened. He can't win. He creates division. Right after the death of King Solomon, what do we see? There's two nations under two kings. We have Judah in the south and Israel in the north. And for the rest of the time, what are they doing? They're fighting against each other. No, it's Judah's fault. Who thinks he can tell us what to do? No, it's Israel's fault. Just because he's many, he thinks he can tell us what to do. No, it's Judah's fault. Because they have the temple, they think they can tell us what to do. Guess what they're not doing during the fight? They're not doing their mission. And that is what the devil likes. He creates division because he cannot win against a united church. This is the last day events talking about the situation of the church in the last days. This is what it says. Some have advanced thought that as we near the close of time, every child of God will act independently of any religious organization. But I have been instructed by the Lord that this work, there is no such a thing as every man's being independent. It's one nation. Goes on to say, you will take passages in the testimony that speak of the close of probation, of the shaking among God's people, and you will talk of coming out from these people, of a purer, holier people that will arise. Now, all this pleases the enemy. Should many accept these views, and you advance and talk and act upon them, we would see one of the greatest fanatical excitement that has ever been witnessed among the Seventh-day Adventist church. And that is what Satan wants. Ladies and gentlemen, there will be people in the church who are very hard to work with, especially for youth. I've had young people being extremely frustrated by the leaders of the church. I can't believe they did this. I can't believe they're doing this. There will be hypocrisy in the church. There will be corruption in the church. We're working with human just like us, but there is no big reason enough to divide the church. Do not leave the church. It's one nation under one king. All right, so let's do a quick review. Under the who, we mentioned you are a chosen generation. Number 2, you are a royal priesthood. And number 3, you are a holy nation. All right, so let's answer the question. Why? Why the selection? Why the sanctification as a holy nation? Why the coronation as a prince and a princess? And why are you anointed? It's very simple. To influence. That's it. They choose you. God has chosen you and has equipped you with everything necessary to complete your purpose. And your purpose is to influence. It's exactly what the last sentence of the verse says. Same chapter, 1 Peter chapter 2, verse 9. It says, to proclaim the praises of him, not of you, or not of anybody else, but of him who called you out of darkness into his marvelous light. That's it. Influence. Whatever you are, your responsibility is to influence. Same book, The Last Day Events. This is Sister White speaking. In a special sense, Seventh-day Adventists have been set in the world as a watchmen and light bearers. To them has been entrusted the last warning for a perishing world. On them is the shining, wonderful light from the Word of God. They have been given a work of the most solemn import, the proclamation of the first, the second, and the third angel's message. There is no other work of great importance. They are to allow nothing else to absorb their attention. What is your purpose? What is your purpose? To influence this world. God has chosen you and has sanctified you. He has anointed you as a priest for a specific purpose for such a time as this. Now, I started with a story of the British in Uganda. At the end of their mission, when they completed their mission in Uganda, they went back to the UK and they received handsome rewards, in terms of money. Some of them received like official residences. We're talking about 30, 20, 50 bedroom castles. And there's nothing that compared to this. This is one of the governors of Uganda. He was one of the influential governors of Uganda. And this is his full name. And I want you to notice the last, after the comma, Lugard. It says, First Baron Lugard. You see that word right there, Baron? That's not his name. That's a title. For those of you that are familiar with British nobility, barons are among the high-ranking aristocrats in the British nobility. They are among the dukes, the lords, the duchesses, and so on. So that's a title. In other words, some of them would be adopted in the royal family to reign with the royal family. And this is a hereditary title. The offsprings get the same title forever. So the question is, after enduring everything in this world, after standing out, after sending that email, after not attending that event because it was on Sabbath, it's a lot of denying yourself. How does God receive you when you reach to heaven? This is one of my favorite verses in the Bible, Revelation chapter 3, verse 21. Can we read it together? I have a question for you. Who sits on the throne? Do foreigners sit on the throne? Do rejects sit on the throne? Do nobody sit on the throne? Only royalty sits on the throne. And the Bible just declared you a royalty. You are a prince and a princess of the heavenly kingdom. Some of you are walking around and you didn't know anything about this. You didn't know that you're dukes and duchesses of New Jerusalem, the princes and princesses of New Jerusalem. You're walking around thinking like, man, I'm just a nobody around here. Your friends must be lucky. You tell them, you don't know who I am. I'm a prince. I'm a princess. That is who you are. When you know who you are, it's very easy to do your purpose. It's easy to fulfill your purpose because you know who you are. It's hard to stand out. It's not easy. But I want you to remember, just like the British in Uganda, we're not on our own. We have unlimited resources from our home kingdom. We have unlimited access to our home kingdom. I know some of you are thinking to yourself, Baptista, come on, we're just 21 million. There's 7.8 billion people. That sounds like mission impossible. You know what? You're right. When you look on our own strength, our human abilities, there's no question. It's mission impossible. But when you look at the power of the great I am, the word itself says mission impossible. As I mentioned, while you are in your specific institutions, your job is to influence. It may seem like you're not making a lot of impact, like Baptista. Come on, I've been there for 2 years. I haven't baptized anybody. There's a time for everything under the sun. There's a time to plow. There's a time to plant. And there's a time for harvest. This is time to plant. You can't make it rain. You can't. It's not your responsibility to make it rain. But you can plant the seed and wait for the rain. Go, therefore, and plant the seed. Thank you.